I had to try to find some kind of balance between being a husband, being a father, being a business owner. I was doing the bare minimum that needed to be done to take care of two little ones. And from one thing to the next, it just wasn't happening, and the years were starting to go by. I started to ask myself, is there another way? Is there another way where I could do this and still be a provider? My parents always, they always worked hard. My dad was a truck driver. My mom was a factory worker. I have 5 siblings, and we grew up in Brooklyn. But it was, the 6 of us, plus my parents, in a 2-bedroom apartment. Being a young kid, not understanding, what it meant and what they were doing for us, right? They were just always working. So oftentimes it felt like we were kind of raising ourselves. I had a vision, even then, of what I wanted family life to look like. I was working at Intel Corporation. I was working hard, right? I did everything that my parents showed me, right, to do. When my fiance told me that we would be having our first child, I was extremely excited. Immediately, she started getting sick. And we thought it was just morning sickness. But it continued well after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, which led to emergency room visits, which led to her having to get hydrated throughout the entire pregnancy, couldn't eat. She was actually losing weight throughout the pregnancy instead of gaining weight like normally you would. So it was a very, very rough time. And then about 3-4 months into the pregnancy, we discovered that not only did she have this medical condition that only like 1% of women have, but she developed a kidney stone. For me, being an engineer, my mind started spinning into all sorts of what ifs, right? And the fear and the scare. My wife loves Christmas and loves snow, so she had me singing Christmas songs to her while she was in the hospital bed. I just wanted to be, at that point, since it was just her and I was able to be present. I was able to be there for her. When my daughter was born, it shifted everything for me. That was the change because up until that point, it was just climbing the corporate ladder, right? Doing exactly what I was told to do. When I think back to, again, my upbringing and my parents just working and grinding and, instilling in me what it takes, right, to provide for a family, I started to ask myself, is there another way? An idea would come and I thought, hey, I could do that. Eventually I realized none of them were it wasn't my passion. It wasn't the thing that I was called to do. And so not only was I trying to make this business thing work, but we were dealing with medical conditions right out of the gate with our first child. But when the third child came, everything just went to another level. All 3 of our girls have GI-related issues. So there's been surgeries after surgery and ER visits over the years, and it just became too much. I came across this podcast by this young lady, Jamie Masters, called Eventual Millionaire, and she was interviewing this gentleman by the name of Dan Miller, and he had this book called 48 Days to the Work You Love. And immediately as I was listening to this podcast, I was like, that is what I need. I need that book to figure out what is my thing, what is my calling, what is my passion. And I got the book immediately, and I started flying through the book. The gears started turning at that point, and I started to get a sense of what it is that I love doing. Okay, I love playing with technology, right? How do I turn that into something that is bringing something to the world, as well as being able to provide for my family with that. A friend of mine came to me and was like, hey, I want to raise $5,000 for this charity called Charity Water. And I was like, $5,000, you could do a lot better than that, man. And I encouraged him to do $10,000. And he said, well, if I'm going to do $10,000, you're going to help me figure this out. And I came up with this idea of doing this online telethon. And I figured out the whole thing, how we were going to interview these big name entrepreneurs And for people would pay to sit in on these interviews while they were happening online. And in 24 hours, we raised $10,000 for charity water, which brings water to towns and villages in India. In between that time, I also launched a podcast called Startup Dad Headquarters. There was no podcast that existed at the time that was giving me the answer. They would interview these successful entrepreneur dads, but they wouldn't talk about the family side. Like, how do you do it? Are you a deadbeat dad that's just making money but not really present? So I interviewed 140 dads all over the world, and I was basically investigating. I was like trying to find the answer, the formula. And after 140 interviews in 2015, the Intel site here in Massachusetts decided that they were going to close down, unfortunately. And at that point in time, my wife and I had to make another big decision. Were we gonna go to the West Coast and stay with Intel, or were we gonna go all in? Once the business started and I left Intel, it's like everything got worse. Every 6 weeks, it was like we were back in the hospital, back in the hospital, back in the hospital. One of the 3 girls we were back in the hospital for. And I found myself trying to run a business, trying to grow a business, constantly in the hospital. And if I wasn't in the hospital, I was here trying to take care of our other 2 girls, right? And my wife would be in the hospital an hour away. I had to try to find some kind of balance between being a husband, being a father, being a business owner, all at the same time. And it was very challenging, and that's why I knew that I had to build a team in order to make this work. In 2017, we actually pivoted from webinar production to now Integrator Co, where we build sales and marketing funnels. And the only way I was able to do that was because I was able to get that balance over time. I was able to balance life. I was able to be present for my kids and my wife, and I was able to not spend so much time trying to figure it all out myself, right? Doing it myself. I love my parents and everything that they provided, but I didn't want to be that kind of parent. And as the business was growing and hiring more employees, I was able to hire individuals that could do certain things in the business for me. So I didn't have to be the guy. I didn't have to do everything. I didn't have to be the janitor, the plumber, the CEO, right? The guy turning all the knobs. I had a team that could do that. And in October, we were able to actually go to Disney for 12 days. I think I checked in once for like 30 minutes with my employee at the time. And it was like, yes, this is what I wanted, right? This is what I need. And that's what we bring to our clients. We become their team, even though all we're doing is helping them generate more money, but through strategy, through conversations with them, it's a lot more than just a marketing agency that's coming in and running Facebook ads. There's this whole question of legacy, right? And impact. Like, what am I doing? What am I leaving in this world? I'm not the doctor saving lives. I'm not the coaches, the authors, the speakers that are changing lives. But I'm the geek. I'm the guy behind the scenes that's helping to bring these individuals, bring their businesses, bring their services and products to the world. And that's what I do. That's at the end of the day, that's the impact that I bring to the world. When I see the testimonials they're receiving, I'm playing a role in that. I'm making a big difference and I'm making an impact. And that's why I do what I do. And that's what I want to do for all businesses, to get that balance and get them that freedom.